Hello and welcome to Read the Last Page,
A Yap Session
book club.
with your two favorite long-distance best friends.
The book we read this month is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, by Judy Blume.
And since we finally read the last page, let's talk about it. Hi, B. How are you?
Well, I'm good. We kind of had a pre-yap sesh, so
we did.
I've already kind of talked about this, but kind of going through my quarter life crisis, but like it's okay because we're here. When this is posted, it'll be the new year.
It literally will be. Wait, I didn't think about that. That's crazy.
I know we're recording in 2024, so hello from last year.
The past.
Welcome to the new year.
True.
And I can't remember exactly which day, like January, what this will be posted, but my 1 year anniversary of living in New York is on January 4th.
Mm-hmm.
My birthday's on January 7th, so like lots of things going on, like
literally
lots of big milestones. So yeah, I'm doing a dance intensive right now, and it's been challenging, which is good, but I've as the year has been ending and my first year of living in New York, which is also my first year of not living with my parents, so it's like very big year for me.
Yeah.
As all that's been coming to an end, you know, I've been thinking about like, what have I learned about myself this year? Like, how have I grown? This and that. And like, I feel like a lot of good things have happened. And then like in this dance environment that I'm in right now, like I'm feeling a little bit like, I don't know how to describe it, like kind of shaken or like facing head on some of those things that I've been working on, if that makes sense. So it's been like good, but it's challenging. But it's like, it's good that it's challenging, but that doesn't mean that it's not like, doesn't feel hard. Oh my gosh, I can't
I get what you're saying.
What I'm trying to say. Like, that doesn't mean that it's not going to feel hard sometimes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I was just telling Dan that me and my journal we've got some things to talk about in the next couple days, you know. As the year ends, I just want to write a few things, and I've been keeping track of like all the auditions that I've gone to. I might, if I get crazy, like I might like make a TikTok. Like I've seen some girls do like a monthly like audition wrap, like here's how many auditions I went to this month, but like I'll do one for the whole year.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And it's like gonna be so many auditions and so many rejections, so it's like it's kind of scary to like tell everybody, hey. But one thing I told myself when I moved here is like, no matter what happens, I don't want anybody to ever be able to say that I didn't try.
Yeah.
Like, I've been showing up, I've been going to class, I've been going to the auditions, and they've been telling me no, but you know what, I go back the next day and I try again. So anyways, that's been really important for me, like keeping track of all that stuff. And I'm kind of going on a tangent here now, but my favorite math professor that I can't remember if I've ever talked about him on the podcast, but me and one of my math professors were like this, we're tight, and he has written like so much stuff, but he's written this like autobiography basically of his life, like a memoir of his life.
Wait, for real? Like, has he published it?
No, I think he wants to have it published. It's so, at least what I've read like his childhood, like up through high school.
Okay.
And then like I read his 20s, basically, like his college and other things that he did, like kind of in his 20s. Anyways, he has been able to write this whole thing because his whole life he's like journaled and taken notes of things and like held on to letters and emails and this and that from everybody, so he has like sources, you know, like documents of like evidence of what happened, and that's how he's been able to recall all this stuff. And when I told him I was moving to New York and everything, he was like, you really need to like be keeping a journal and like keep track of all this stuff. Like you're going to want to know when you get older, like what you were doing. And I already journaled. I've been journaling for years and years and years. But that really motivated me to like keep track of all of the auditions, because I'm like, that is like a not tangible, but it's like something I want to be able to like see and be like, I did that. I showed up that many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
He's such an inspiration to me.
I've never met this man, by the way, you guys. And like Laura sent me like poetry he's written, or just told me little like pieces of his life. And literally, he seems like the coolest guy in the world.
He really is.
That's
so
such
sweet.
a good idea to keep everything. Because I'm already, I think, like a hoarder of like memories. But like I'm also somebody who I don't do super well with like the concept of time passing, and so it's like I can't like even like scroll through my like camera roll like for more than like a year pass without like feeling very uncomfortable with like the photos I'm seeing. So I feel like if I like did something like that, it would be better for myself, because I don't want to be scared of the passing of time. Also, I'm like young, so it's like literally, girl, if you're scared now, what's gonna happen when you're 80? Yeah, God forbid. Like, so
I think
don't know.
He's like, he just told me how old he was, but I already forgot. But like 70 something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So he's lived a long, amazing, really, really interesting life. Like very interesting. Part of the reason this is such a random tangent about my math professor, but
no.
he has like a doctorate in math, but he also like did some professional acting in his 20s. Like when he wasn't quite sure where to go with his like college career, he like was in a theater troupe and like did all this stuff. And so like I feel like we can understand each other, that like that kind of pull between like like numbers and math and like the arts and performing.
You're so Gabriella Montez.
So true. And it's just like, you know, math is so beautiful, and to me it's art, so it makes sense, you know. Anyways, he's just been an inspiration to me of taking catalog of like what you're doing and what's going on, so you can look back and reflect on like where you started and all the steps you've taken to get where you are, you know.
Yeah, that's so nice. So lovely.
So that's how I'm doing. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Oh, you want to know something actually? This has something to do with our podcast. So one of the very kind gifts my mom surprised me with this year was because I went on a rant on our podcast about this stupid waffle maker that we had when we were children. My family had when we were children. A Cinderella waffle maker that my sister, my older sister, stole when she was the first to move out. She snatched it and took it up to Chicago with her. And I had never talked to my mom about it. I mean, maybe I had like once or twice, but like it had been a while. And the fact that I brought it up was even crazy on the podcast. And my mom, being so nice, was watching the podcast and was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that waffle maker. She literally scoured the internet, went on eBay. Wow. Mind you, this waffle maker is like 25 years old. Literally an old waffle maker. She found it, had it like shipped as quickly as possible to our house so that way I could get it for Christmas, and now I have our Cinderella waffle maker.
That is literally so sweet.
I was so shocked. I was just like, there's no way, because like I mind you guys, I just said that to the internet, and like I did not think about it at all. I didn't even consider the fact that my mom would hear about it. And so like the fact that like that was gifted to me, I was so confused. I was like, how did you know that I've secretly been dying for this? For like the past 5-7 years. Anyway, but it's so nice, and it's like I'm not even like a huge waffle fan, I'll be honest, but like I'm gonna be making waffles.
Now you are.
Yeah, it's so
That's
nice.
amazing.
Yeah. So
yeah, my family came, well, my parents and my oldest sister's family came up here for a little bit, so I
Yeah.
got some gifts from my family, and that was really, really sweet.
Yeah.
Just, feeling seen and loved is just so nice.
Mhm.
I'm actually
Mhm.
wearing a sweatshirt that my sister Mary got me last year. Well, she actually had my grandma like embroider this. It says "Love you to the moon and to Saturn,"
So cute.
which is so us.
Yeah,
And
so
and then
us.
this
You
is
wearing
my
your Saturn
necklace from you.
necklace?
Yeah.
That's so
Um,
cute.
because I was trying to think. I was like, oh, like I should wear something like that I got for Christmas, but I don't. I got some socks, but I didn't really get a lot of clothes, which is fine because I don't really have room for more clothes. But then
Right.
I was like, oh, I could wear this one because like I got it for Christmas last year, and
True.
um,
It applies.
anyways, yeah. But Mary got me soap that's from Bath and Body Works. It's like Stranger Things soap,
Oh
and
my
the
gosh.
scent says upside down. So
Love.
like, I haven't used it yet because I'm finishing my other soap first. But I'm so excited to see what the upside down what it
I
smells like. Like what?
when I was in Massachusetts with my cousin, we went to a Bath and Body Works and we were looking at the Stranger Things collection. And the sales associates in Bath and Body Works are like actually insane because they have to sell. They make commission. And so one of the sales ladies came over to us and she was like, "And don't you just love this collection?" And we were like, "Yeah," like we were just smelling it. And she goes, let me show you this one. This one's my favorite." And it was Eddie's leather jacket. She takes off, shows it, like makes us smell it. And she goes, "Don't you just want to be wrapped up in that Eddie's leather jacket?" Like she was being like so weirdly sexual towards Eddie. I was like, mind you, she's like 57 years old. It's like, girl.
She probably has a daughter that has TikTok and like she's seen the
Well,
Eddie edits or something.
what she said, she was like, "I don't know who this Eddie guy is, but I don't."
Oh, she didn't even know.
She was just like so trying to lay it on thick for us, and we were
That's
like,
crazy.
"Girl, Eddie is canonically a 17-year-old high school student. Like you do not. Maybe he's 19. I have no idea actually how old Eddie is, but I was like, don't."
Yeah, that is so crazy. No, but I loved that because we make our Christmas list, my family. We have this whole like Word doc because I have a huge family. And anyways, I always have a list of like general things I like. And, like books, math, stars, Taylor Swift, Little Women, Stranger Things. And like,
Right.
I feel like since Stranger Things, like, we haven't had a new season since 2022. Like, I just put it on there because it's been on my list for so long, but like I wasn't expecting anything Stranger Things
Yeah.
because I feel like there hasn't been a lot of new merch, and when I opened that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun.
It is so true.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. That's so nice. I wonder what
Yeah.
it smells like.
I know.
What can Stranger Things? I mean, because like the leather jacket one, that I think is smart.
Right.
But what does the upside down smell like?
I don't know. It's like in like a bluish green like bottle dispenser. I'm like wondering if it's gonna smell like blue raspberry or like I don't know,
Yeah.
like just something like nice.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
true.
We'll see. I'll update once I use it. Oh.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah. So, as you guys know, we read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. This is my book from the library, which this is like not what I expected the cover to look like.
No,
don't
I
know
was
if
gonna
this is,
say
like, a
that's such
new
an
cover.
interesting cover. My cover is really cute actually. I have it on my Kindle though, so I don't. But it's like I think it's the movie tie-in from like the movie that came out 2 years ago, and it's like, or I guess last year. But her, like, how like her shoes in the very beginning, she doesn't wear socks, and so she has blisters on her feet. So it's a like image of her like trying to fix her shoe because she's getting a
Aw, that's
blister.
cute.
I know, and I was like, that's so cute, and also kind of metaphorical for the whole book.
Yeah, true. True.
My girl's just getting blisters the entire time, low key.
Also, you said 2 years ago. Wait, I guess last year, but
now
like,
it's gonna be 2 years. Yeah,
right. It's like last
In
year
like a
for
week.
us right now, but then 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
True.
Yeah. I know, because at first I was like, "Is this the girl from the movie?" But I don't think it is. I think it's just
No, I
a
think it's
random girl.
random. Yeah, well, because like, how old is this book? This book came out in the 70s, didn't it?
Yeah,
So
because
I
my
bet
mom said, I'm pretty sure my mom said it. She
Yeah.
read it when she grew up.
My mom read it too when she was younger. So like, how many covers do you think it has to have gone through? Probably like
Yeah, a lot.
a handful.
It says copyright 1970.
Gotcha. Sweet.
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah. So overall, love.
Literally, actually, like such a classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
You've seen the movie, right?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. So we both
Yeah.
have already seen the movie, and when we were making, we have like a list of like potential reads, and so we put this one on there because, as you guys know, I really like to read juvenile and middle grade. And Dan was like, "Oh, like we already know we like the movie, so we put that on there." And honestly, for me, it was like the perfect like last book
Yeah.
of the year for the podcast. Like, so easy to read, so enjoyable to read, and also so deep, low key.
I know.
Like there, it's just so. I think that's what I sometimes love about like middle grade books is they can be so like straightforward and
Mhm.
like kind of simple. Like it's kind of a simple story,
Mhm.
but when you read it with a grown up developed mind,
Yeah.
it's like you can see all the nuance of like all the characters and what lessons they're learning and how I would have felt as the 11, 12-year-old. Like
Yeah.
I would have felt just like her, and now I can see like all the interactions she had with her mom or her dad or her grandma or her friends. Like you just, I don't know, you get to appreciate it with a new perspective. I just love it.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. So if you guys, I feel like this is gonna be a hard book to like have a non-spoiler section for because you guys, it's like literally like 105 pages, and also it's a classic, and I feel like
Yeah.
everybody knows. But if you guys for some reason haven't heard of this book, this is like as B said, like a middle grade classic about a story of a girl named Margaret who moves from New York to New Jersey before she starts the 6th grade. And it's kind of about like, it's like a year in her life kind of where she is trying to like acclimate to this new town that she's living in, and also she's working on this class project where she's decided to try out a bunch of different religions because she was raised non-religious, and see which one kind of fits and works best for her. And throughout the whole entire book, the reason why it's called Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, it's because she's having these little conversations with God about whatever's going on in her life and like asking for guidance and help. And yeah, it's a really sweet book. It's all about girlhood and coming of age.
Yes.
And I honestly, it's like so timeless. Like, and we'll get into this more, I think, later. But
Yeah.
it's such a timeless book to me. I loved reading it now because it just like really reaffirmed to me kind of how essential like these coming of age books are for young
Yeah.
women, because like truly the fact that like me as somebody in my 20s was like feeling so like impacted by this story of this like 10-11-year-old girl who's like going through puberty for the first time, or for the first time. Like, yeah, true. But who's going through puberty, who's like experiencing like these highs and lows in her friend group, who's like feeling pressured to conform to other people in her class, in her life, etc. It's just like such a evergreen concept. It's just yeah, it was really great. And like you said, I think it was like the perfect book to kind of close out the year on.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it just felt like with like Margaret ending her journey, I was like, it feels so cyclical to also like the year wrapping up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was just a perfect book. And I feel like when you're younger, when you're 11, 12, and all these things are happening to you, and you're growing up and you're trying to make friends, it can feel like, I don't know if like isolating is the right word, but it's just like things feel scary and you
Yeah.
don't know like what can I ask my mom about or what should I tell my
Yes.
friends. And Margaret goes through a lot of those like questions and struggles, and it's like, and she's like, my mom always says she understands me, so then why didn't she understand why I don't want to wear socks on the first day of school? Like, if
Mm-hmm.
she understands what it's like being a young girl, why doesn't she understand this? And
Yeah.
it's just like now, like reading it in our mid 20s, it's just like, wow, like, yeah, I was so scared of so many things too. And it's like, oh, if I just would have talked to somebody, like, it wasn't
I
ever going to be that
know.
big of a deal, you know? But
I
it
know.
feels monumental when you're that age. Like, everything feels
It
like a
feels
big deal.
so
And
crazy.
it kind
Yeah,
of is,
it's
you know, like it
yeah,
kind of is when it's the first time all this stuff is happening. But
yeah.
it's like, I don't know. It's so it's like so I guess like reassuring, like reading this and being like, oh, like I wasn't the only one feeling like that at that age. You know how people post TikToks and they're like, and then everyone in the comments is like, wow, I've never had a unique experience, or like, oh my gosh, we all live the same life. Like,
Yeah.
that's what when you say like this book is timeless, it's like I feel like almost every girl in like America that, you know,
Mhm.
has gone to
Mhm.
public school and whatever, like,
Mhm.
is going to relate to this in some
Yeah.
way. In
Yeah.
any, like, because this was written in 1970, but it's like, it's relevant now, you
Yeah.
know?
You know, I when I first saw this movie, my mom and I had like this really deep conversation in the car afterwards about how much we liked it. And I was like, I think one of the very few stories that like you can tell time and time and time again, and it's like very rarely going to age or become less timely or less
Mm-hmm.
relatable, is girlhood, because it's so interesting the way that like this is something that like bonds all women, whether or not
Mm-hmm.
we realize it or not. I think it's just like, because I also think about like so many like classic boyhood stories, and I think like there's so much that you can maybe pull from that and be like, okay, well that's timeless. Like the bonds you have with your friends as a boy are timeless,
Mm-hmm.
sure. But like you think like Stand By Me, you think like The Sandlot, you think like The Goonies, I don't know. And I'm like, those are all such like they feel so of the time. Whereas Are You There, Margaret? It's like it's one of those books that like you're like, yes, that definitely feels like it's taking place in the 1970s because of that's just the setting. But like the fact that we had a movie last year come out and it feels just as present and everything
Yeah.
just like also I was so surprised with how like the movie was able to be updated
Mm-hmm.
and kind of to connect to more generations. Like it just feels like the concepts here in Are You There, God Is Me, Margaret are like so fresh and like interesting and compelling and relatable, because as a whole, girlhood is one of those things that is always going to be interesting, is always
Mm-hmm.
going to be like relatable, is always going to be like this real bonding moment for women.
Yeah.
That's why like the Barbie movie was so huge. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
like women love to come together and feel empowered or impacted or related, like feel like they're relating to a
Yeah.
piece of media, and especially if they're doing it together. And I feel like this book really just highlighted that for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like it. Just I just like I want give me 10 more of them. You know what I mean? It's like,
Fantastic. Give me 14 of them right now.
yeah, please.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like reading this book, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to give this to my niece. I need to give this to every single girl I've ever interacted with. Like everyone needs to
Yeah,
read this book and just feel like okay in what they're feeling. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It's
It's
so
also
nice.
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's so nice too to have a book that you can just like hand to your niece and like
Mhm.
not have to worry about like, oh, there's things in here that like maybe you have to wait a few years for, but like no, it's like
Right.
a book that you cherish and you relate to and you understand, and you can just like give it to your niece and be like, you're gonna like this, you should try this. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really sweet. I feel like there's not too many books out there that
Mhm.
you're able to do that with.
Right. Right. And you were just talking about that you watched it with your mom, and I watched
Yeah.
this with my mom.
Yeah.
And it was just so sweet cuz my mom and I, like, we would go to the movie theater like just if there was a movie that she wanted to see, she'd be like, "Hey, do you want to go to the movie theater and go see this?" I'm like, "Yes." And she so she invited me to go see this one, and yeah, I like loved it, of
Mm-hmm.
course. And she was like, "Yeah, well, I read the book when I was younger." And like, and it's just so true about like that related, like, well, I'm assuming she related to it when
Mm-hmm.
she read it as a kid. And now it's like, now she's bringing her daughter to the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's connecting
Yeah.
like the
Generations.
generations, you know.
It's so beautiful.
Ah, yeah.
I think it's, and I don't want to, I mean, it's going to be so hard for me to completely distance myself from talking about the movie in this because
Right. And they're so similar.
they are, but like, oh my gosh, the movie, the updates that the movie does in order to make it feel, I think, like a lot more fleshed out. I don't know
Mhm.
if that's the right word to use, because like this is a very fleshed out book. It's just mostly about Margaret, and I think that the movie does a really good job of being like,
Yeah.
and we're going to actually make this a book more so about women, because we understand
Mhm.
like the impact that this book has had on women of all generations. And
Mhm.
I think they also knew that like since this book came out 50 years ago, many of the girls who read it then are going to be more so like Rachel McAdams' character, or even like
Right.
Kathy Bates' character. And so it's like to have that be updated so that way we get to see three different character arcs or three different
Mhm.
storylines with three different women of different ages, and how like it all connects, and like like they all find this very nice like home in the story. God, it's so good. Like it's like literally
Yeah.
I love, I think it's one of the, now that I have read the book, one of the best book to movie adaptations maybe I've ever seen.
Yes.
And I need to watch it
Yes.
again. And
Me
I need to
too.
watch it
And
again.
actually, for Christmas, I asked
Uh-huh.
for a like a DVD player for my laptop so I could watch movies. And I
Mm.
told Kelly, I was like, if you see that someone is getting that for me, will you please send like 5 movies? And I asked for one of them
Mm.
to be Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So I have it. So now I can watch
Love. Girl,
it.
yes, that's so exciting. That is
Yeah.
so exciting.
Can we go into just like talking about specific things in the book, like spoiler
Yeah,
stuff
we
now?
can cross over.
Okay.
If, by the way, if you guys don't want any spoilers, feel free to leave. I don't know if you could tell me, and highly recommend this book. Again,
Yeah.
it's like literally like 100 and something pages long.
Yeah, you
It
can read
took
it in one day. I did.
it took me like 3 hours to finish. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like truly a really good like bite size book that like you can just like spend an afternoon reading if you want to. And so we highly recommend both the book and the movie. So
Yeah.
there you go. And now if you don't want any spoilers, goodbye. We're going to get into it.
um as you can imagine, I had many text to self connections with this one.
Okay.
So the first one that I wrote was on page 5.
Mhm.
She goes, I think she's like gonna like play in the sprinkler with her new friend Nancy.
Mhm.
And she like goes and asks her mom like, "Hey, can I go play in the sprinkler with my new friend?" And her mom's like, "Well, we don't have your swimsuit," like, la la la. And then she like runs back to Nancy and she's like, "I don't have a swimsuit." And Nancy's like, "Well, you can just borrow mine." And she runs back to her mom and is like, "Well, can I borrow Nancy's swimsuit?" And her mom's like, "Yeah, that's fine. Like, go for it."
Mhm.
The way that Margaret had to like double ask, like clear every detail with her mom before she felt like she could go is so my childhood. Like,
Mhm.
I could not. I remember being in like third, fourth grade, and my friends would be like, "You should come over and play tonight." And like, and I was like, "Okay, like what time? Who's driving?
Yeah.
When am I going back home?" And they're like, "I don't know." Like, bleh. I'm like, I cannot ask my mom unless I know every single detail, because she's going to ask me every single detail and I will not be allowed.
If you
Like,
don't know
if
everything, yeah.
there's not like a clear plan. And I just like when I was reading that, it's like I was like, "Margaret, like why does it matter like if you borrow Nancy's swimsuit? Like why would your mom care? Like,
Yeah.
just go." But I'm like, no, if I was in that situation, I would have ran back to my mom being like, is it okay if I borrow Nancy's swimsuit? You
Yeah.
know? I don't know,
Yeah.
just like all like the little
Yeah, those
all the
little
little
things.
things.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was me, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting too because like you can take it as like maybe her mom is somebody who would like to know those details, but also it's like I mean, I don't know. It does seem to me like Margaret's mom in this, it's like her whole world is kind of Margaret in a way, and
Mhm.
so like it would make a lot of sense for her to kind of want all the details and know what's going on, especially in a new neighborhood. But also, I think it says a lot about Margaret as a character and how she is when we meet her, like really kind of like shy and I think a little bit anxious, and like it kind of makes a lot of sense for like her to be like, okay, well, mom, I'm gonna do that. Okay, like I hope that's fine. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
or
yeah.
etc. And so I don't know. I think it like it tells you a lot. Um, it could tell you a lot about both her home life and about who Margaret is as a person. I think
Yeah.
that's really
So
good.
true. So the next one was on page 30, when this is when the teacher gives them the paper that's like, answer these 5 questions, and one of them says, I think that male teachers, and then
Mm-hmm.
she like didn't, she's like, I don't understand like what this is asking, like I don't get what I'm supposed to write. And she just wrote, are opposite of female teachers, which I just think is
Yeah.
so funny. And the way that she was feeling like anxiety over this like um assignment in quotation marks, like there, I don't think there was any grade attached to this. It was just like, write what you think you should write. I remember being in like fourth, fifth grade, whenever we used to have, I don't know if every school does this or what, but we used to have these reading tests where you would like read these books, these really short stories. You would read them out loud to the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
because they were like testing for your like how fast you and accurate you could read and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd have to like answer questions about the book.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of the questions were sort of open ended, but me being me, I was like, I know that there's like a right answer that's going to get the highest grade, and I would have such trouble like if it would say, I can't even remember what it would say, something like, what's the theme of the book, or like something like that. I remember literally crying over this, like because I was like, I don't know what it's asking me. I didn't understand what it was asking me, and I
Yeah.
felt like Margaret, like reading that part where Margaret was like, I don't understand what he wants us to write, like, and it's like now I'm looking at it and it's like there was no right or wrong answer. It was just like whatever you thought. But she was like, there has to be like some, like, he's gonna think I'm weird if I say this, but what if I say that, you know? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I was like, I relate to that so much. I remember being that age and
Yeah.
feeling all the time when answering sort of open ended questions like that, like overwhelmed and anxious, because I was like, I don't get what I'm being asked to do. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. No,
I was
that's
just
so
like,
real.
yeah, oh, it was like
Yeah.
crazy reading that. I was like, oh, okay, like that was not alone in that, that
Yeah,
feeling.
there's a line in that part that stuck out to me really I was gonna say really hard, but that doesn't feel real. That doesn't feel right. But like, but it just stuck out to me, and it was afterward she goes, I wrote down, like you said, male teachers are the opposite of female teachers, which was a stupid answer, but I thought it was a stupid question.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like to me I was like so like shocked by like that confidence that Margaret had,
Uh-huh.
because like I don't know, she's like when you watch the movie, Margaret seems like a very kind of like not sure of herself type of girl, like really kind of like amiable, maybe is the right word for it, I
Mhm.
don't know, type of character. And I feel like in the beginning of Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, she's like she's got a little bit of like bite to her,
Yeah,
which
she's a
like
little
is
sass.
yeah, a little snarky, which is like so natural for like a 10, 11-year-old girl to have, specifically when you've like been uprooted from your life and like
Yeah.
you're probably feeling a lot of emotions. But I was like, I loved having that little line because I could not relate to it at all when this is still me and I still have to tell myself like, girl, like trust your gut. But like she immediately was like able to like like
Kind of justify why she wrote that.
kind of, I was just gonna say like kind of like not like fully conform to authority.
Oh, yeah.
Like her teacher is like this authoritative figure, and like you can tell from the beginning like she likes him. Like her mom is even like kind of a bit judgy about his age, but Margaret's like, no, he's totally fine. But like when something happens that she doesn't agree with, she's very much able to be like, well, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think that was dumb. And that's kind of like this thing throughout the whole entire book where she's like, she can tell things that people are peer pressuring her to do are kind of dumb and like not right. But she still ultimately goes along with it.
Yeah.
Because she like wants to do what is expected of her in a way.
Right.
And so I think it's just like such an interesting battle you see throughout the whole entire book, and I feel like that's like really one of the first instances that like you see that come up where like she doesn't think that question is like worth her time, but like because she's like, well, it's an assignment, and like you were saying, she has that anxiety about how to answer it. She's like, well, I'm just gonna answer it, and I don't care if the answer is dumb, like I'm answering it, I'm giving him what he wants. And so it's just so like, I'm like, I love this girl because she's got that the again, I don't know how to say it, like unauthoritative. I don't even know. But
she's
like,
doing things with great abandon.
Yes. Okay,
you know, I love saying that.
Yes. Yes. But truly, like, and I think it's just like, it's interesting to me because I feel like her journey, she had everything in her at the beginning of the book to be where she is at the end of the book, but she still had to take that journey because she had to learn those lessons. And it's like, it's nice. I liked it.
Can I tell you a story that I just thought of while you were saying all that about? So you were saying that she wrote that and she's like, well, it was a stupid answer, but I thought it was a stupid question.
Yeah, that reminded me, by the way, so much of you.
When I was in second grade, a girl pushed me on the playground. Okay, we were supposed to be lining up. She shoved me hard. And so I kind of pushed her back. Well, of course, the teacher came out and saw me pushing her.
Right.
So we got in trouble, and we had to go to, like, a buddy room safe spot, which was terrifying, by the way, because I was in second grade, and I had to go to a sixth grade classroom. And the difference between a second grader and a sixth grader, like,
a lot.
That's a big difference. And I was scared. But anyways, I got a think sheet. This is a first and only time I ever got a think sheet. I don't know if these are universal terms, but hopefully people understand what I'm talking about. Anyways, on the sheet it's asking you like, what did you do wrong, blah 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 blah. And one of the questions was like, why did you do it, basically. And I said, because she pushed me first.
Real.
And then
if you got trouble for that,
yeah, you have to turn it into the teacher.
No, that is a valid answer.
She like circled it in red, and she was like, I think you should rethink like your answer to this question. And I was like, no, like that's why I did it.
Real.
I was like, I was only doing it because she did it to me first. Like it was something like that where like maybe I was supposed to think like, oh, I shouldn't have done that because la la la. And I was like, well, she pushed me, so.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you are 8, and that is actually how 8-year-olds think. So I don't know what that teacher was expecting.
I just remember like getting the paper handed back, and she was like, think again on that one. And I like didn't.
Yeah, real.
I remember like being like, no, what I wrote is the truth, so I'm not changing.
Real. Girl, yeah. I love that. Wait, I love that.
But then it was horrible, like so scary having to have that sent home and my parents read it. That was scary.
Really?
Yeah,
were they didn't like your answer?
They were mad.
I think my dad would have laughed.
I don't think they were so upset about the answers. They were just upset that I got in trouble
Yeah,
enough
think
to have to
sheet.
like go to the buddy room
Yeah.
and do the think sheet, you know?
Wait, quick question. Were your parents the type of parents to be like, well, if someone pushes you, you finish the fight? Or were they very much
Uh,
like, no, like you need to do what, like
I
be
don't really
kind.
remember. I don't
Okay.
remember.
Because my dad like grew up in like the projects of Boston. So
Yeah.
and so he's all it's a dog eat dog world. And so of course my family encouraged kindness and self-control. And if you knew
Right.
me and my older sister, you'd be like, yeah, those girls are self-controlled. But the way I didn't
Mhm.
say Alyssa is crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
We love you,
If Alyssa's
Alyssa.
listening to this, I love you, girl. But honestly though, at the end of the day, my dad was always like, okay, well, if someone pushes you, you push them back. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
you gotta, like, it's like, because then you gotta teach them a lesson. And that's interesting. Like, I think if I came
Yeah.
home with a think sheet about pushing a girl because they pushed me back, I feel like they would be like, that's hilarious, actually.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like based on what I've seen with like my nieces and nephews, I feel like the vibe for my family is like if someone does something wrong to you,
Yeah.
tell an adult and have them handle it instead of trying like if
Yeah.
that girl
That's,
pushed me, I should have just went to the teacher and said, "Hey, this girl pushed me. I didn't like it."
yeah.
And then like that saves me from like possibly
Any
getting in
problem.
trouble.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
that's actually so true. I think it's like I was talking to my little sister Alyssa about this the other day, but I just think like the way that we handle parenting and teaching and just like educating children now is so different. Because like I just think a lot, like my parents came from like the 70s, 80s, which like very much, it's not like you couldn't trust adults, but I think it was like more so like kids felt like a lot on their own. It was like the latchkey kid generation, you know what I mean? And so it's like I feel like it makes a lot of sense for me having been raised in the 2000s to like have been taught, hey, if a girl pushes you, you push her back, because like that's just the way of the world. Whereas now we're just like, okay, well, adults are like the most trusted people in the room. Like, go and talk to an adult and they'll handle it, and then you won't get in trouble. Like, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense that that's where our like teaching has evolved.
Right.
But
Well,
it's
I'm just thinking
interesting.
like cuz literally I just saw on my four of my nieces and nephews and like one of them pushes the other one and then the other one kicks the other one and then we see like the second or third offense and we're like we're getting the one kid in trouble like hey stop kicking and then they're like well my sibling did that to me first and it's like okay well if you would have just told us that and not retaliated like you wouldn't be in trouble. Now you guys are both in trouble because you both hurt. Like yeah, you're right, your sister your brother shouldn't have kicked you first, but guess what, you still hurt them back, so now you're both in trouble. That like that's what I'm seeing, at least that's how I handle it when I'm like around the kids and I'm in charge of them. I'm like sorry, you're both in trouble now.
Yeah.
So I'm like I'm wondering if maybe that's how I was raised in them, maybe that's why I think
Yeah.
that way, but like
Could
I don't
be.
really remember, like I just remember having to take it home and I was just scared for my parents to find out.
Yeah. No, that's
But like
so real.
I don't remember them being like
Super mad.
mad about my answers.
Yeah. Okay.
But also this was like 15, like so long ago.
Long
So,
ago.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Okay, I think I have one more text to self. When she this okay, I maybe what's crazy is like I did really well in school and like reading this book it made me like think back on school and I'm like did I have like some anxiety at school like when I was little because
Yeah.
so they turn in their final projects. This is page 147. She turns in her final projects and she notices that everybody else did like a big book project, like a booklet, and all she did was like write a letter. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, like Mr. whatever his name is, like I tried so hard, like I'm so sorry. Like I wanted to do really well." And it made me think about in 4th grade, we one time had to do a book report and you were supposed it was like a sandwich, so it was like the bread on the bread you wrote like the author and the setting and the
Oh,
whatever. And then
uh-huh.
on the lettuce you wrote like the plot, and on the tomato you wrote the characters, like something like that.
Sure.
So everybody else like typed it up, and on their pieces of paper they either use like clip art and just like put little breads around the corner, or like drew a little tomato in the corner. Me,
You made a
I
whole
used
sandwich.
construction paper
Yeah.
and I cut out like a little piece of bread, and I cut out a little red tomato, and I cut out a little lettuce, and it's like this big, like
Mm-hmm.
like, sorry if you're not watching, you can't see, but it was not the size of a full piece of paper. It was like
Mm-hmm.
maybe a
Tiny.
quarter of the size.
Yeah.
And so like I wrote in pencil, I like wrote all my paragraphs or whatever, tiny, 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 because when I heard we were supposed to make a sandwich book report, I'm thinking we need it to look like a literal sandwich. And like, I remember feeling so embarrassed, so much anxiety that like what I brought in wasn't like polished enough looking. Like everyone else's, I remember people having them in like those page protectors and like
Oh,
bound
uh-huh.
together, and mine was like these little construction papers, like with like a brad holding them together. And it's like, it's just crazy because like I felt when I was making that, I was like, wow, like I'm being so creative, and like this looks so cool, and like I was really proud of it. And then I brought it to school and I saw what everyone else had,
Yeah.
and I was like so worried that like I didn't do the right thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. That's so real.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, but it's like in the end, I don't think I got points off. I think my teacher wrote like, "Wow, tiniest handwriting ever," but like I got that all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
wasn't new. But I don't know. It's just like interesting. Again, just like timeless. Like
Yeah.
I can relate to this so strongly in so many
Yeah.
ways, you know?
Yeah. It's so true. Like I related to Margaret's. I mean, I think I'm probably like younger me was a lot like Margaret. Like this is so stupid, but like I guarantee you, almost every single project I had to present throughout elementary school, I would like start it, and then I would break down crying halfway through. And my teacher would have to take me aside and be like, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "I don't feel comfortable doing this anymore." And
Oh.
like, that's just so real. Margaret wouldn't do that though, but like the idea of her yeah, like giving the teacher her project and like running away, and like even though like it's totally okay, and like her teacher was like there to help her and like talk through to her about it,
Right.
like her not getting it in her head that like, okay, this teacher's not going to, like, the worst thing in the world is not going to happen today with you giving your project
Right.
to your teacher, you know? But, like, to her, it felt like so, like, she felt very flustered and, like, overwhelmed by it and, like, just nervous about doing it wrong. And that's just, like, so relatable. I feel like it's just, like, one of those little things where it's, like, when you're that age, like it does feel like the end of the world.
Yeah.
But like when you're reading it now, you totally understand that teacher was never going to be cruel to her about
Yeah.
it. Like he just wanted to understand.
Right.
And so it's just like it's one of those things I think like really is able to like both be kind of like, oh, that puts it in perspective for me, and then also can be seen as like almost like a little silly now to be like, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
that did matter a whole lot then, and like,
Yeah.
and I get it because you feel it with her. Like you feel that anxiety with her, and you want her to feel okay. But like it's
Yeah.
true to be like to have the perspective of being like, okay, girl, it's gonna be fine. Like don't worry.
Right.
But
But
yeah.
it's like you can't wrap your head around that when you're 11 years old, you know?
Mm-hmm,
Like you
mm-hmm.
just can't. Also, I just loved all throughout the book she was always like, I almost died, or like, oh my gosh, if she would have said that I was gonna die, like I'm like,
True.
girl, I totally feel you.
It's so
like,
drastic.
How come when you're 11, like everything your mom does feels so embarrassing? Like it just was so funny when they were like at the store, like buying her first bra,
Yeah.
and like the mom is like talking to the sales lady like, hey, like we're looking for a bra like for my daughter, and Margaret's like, I was over at the other display,
Side of
like
the
acting
counter.
like I didn't know what was going on. And it's like, Margaret, like the
There's-
sales lady knows you're the daughter. Like, it's okay.
There's like that moment where like her like the sales lady tells her that she should go look in the teen section because she's not so developed yet, and Margaret's like, I just was gonna die on the spot. Like that to me was so real. Like
Yeah.
genuinely, I did like the fact that anybody would like mention my body to me, be like under the age of like 14. I was like, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. It's interesting. It makes me think, like, reading a book like this, like, makes me really think about, like, okay, when I hopefully have a daughter one day, like, how can I, like, approach these things and, like,
Yes.
make her feel the least amount of, like, awkward and
Yes.
uncomfortable, you know?
For me personally, if my mom went up to a sales associate, immediately done. Immediately over. I'm like, no, mom, we're fighting it on our own. This is
Yeah.
a me and you adventure. I'm like, you should be happy that I'm even including you in this.
Yeah. I
can't.
wonder, like, I feel like it's, like, in the 70s, like, that was more, like, you
For
talked
sure.
to the person there.
For
you know?
sure. Yeah, because it's like you don't know. Like, now it's like you can go online and you can like figure out kind of what
Yeah.
is going on in every department store or like whatever. But it's like times also I think changed really quickly between like when Margaret's mom was a child versus Margaret, and so it's like this grow bra probably didn't exist when like Margaret's mom was a
Yeah,
child.
that's
So it's
true.
like you definitely probably needed people to like navigate you throughout the
Yeah.
store. But yeah, I don't know. I just I think it's one thing that I think wanted more of in this scene, and is so annoying because it's like it's only because I saw the movie, but like
Yeah.
I love the scene in the movie so badly where like Rachel McAdams is also feeling just as uncomfortable as Margaret is because like her daughter's growing up and she's like she wants to make sure she's doing it like so correctly and like not putting any pressure on her to grow up quick, or also like not making her feel ashamed of her body or anything.
Right.
And also, I like don't even remember what Margaret's mom's name is, so I keep calling her Rachel McAdams, and I'm so sorry.
I don't remember.
Barbara,
It's okay.
I think it's Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
But so and like Rachel McAdams' character like exudes. I did it again. Barbara exudes such warmth throughout the movie, and I love in that scene when like she like turns around because she like doesn't want to like be too invasive, and then like but then she like helps her like clip the bra on, and she like makes this little note where she's like, sometimes I still can't even do this, like it's really hard or something.
Yeah.
And it's like those little moments so important, I think, for
Yeah.
like actually like creating like or like I think giving the reader or audience the emotion that's needed for that scene, as far as like how Margaret's feeling and also how Barbara feels as a mother, and like
yeah.
this like awkward dance that they're both doing, but like it's like filled with so much like love and protection, and it's just like so beautiful for me.
Yeah.
And you get little moments in the book where it's like you see her mom doing that. Like there's a moment where like her mom is like touching each of the bras when they're like laid out on the counter for her, and like Margaret, I think like she just like notices it like and like brushes it off, but like to me I'm just like it's like those little things where it's like I think like she's like taking in that moment with Margaret, and like she's caring about it as much as Margaret is, in like these little ways that you can see through like these little observations that Margaret has. But like yeah, it's like once you're in the room and like she's trying on all these clothes, and like her mom's just like, no, that's too tight, take it off, la, la, la. I'm like, I just wanted, I think, like more of like the warmth that the movie was able to give. But it's like totally fine because it's like I have to keep telling myself that it's totally fine because like the book was not like the book was on a different journey than the movie was on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think it's so true what you were saying earlier about like the movie being for not just the young girls, but for the moms and the grandmas.
Yeah.
Like I was noticing too in the book, like there's just not as much depth exploration of the mom, dad, and both sets of grandparents. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that was like so
Huge.
much more in the movie. But I can understand for the book, like it's just about this little girl's life for 1
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I think in the movie it's about yes, Margaret is the main character, but it's about everyone in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was interesting because in the book, I kind of was like, there was just, I feel like there was a lot more moments where I like disliked her parents and her
Me
grandma. I was
too.
like,
Me too.
they kind of need to back off.
I know. Okay,
Especially
that's
the
so
grandma,
true.
like, eh, which I think you see that in the movie too, but I think,
I
I
think
don't know, I guess,
it's more lovable in the movie. Like it's played off, I
yeah.
think, for more like humor's sake
Yeah, like,
in
oh, my little
ways.
Margaret. But this one, it's just,
Yeah.
I was like, you're a little too possessive of her. But it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point is Margaret feels like everyone else is trying to tell her what to do. Like, one
Yeah.
grandma wants her to be Jewish, one grandma wants her to be Christian. Her parents want her to have nothing to do with either. And
Yeah.
there's one part where she says, I hate that they're talking about this, like, right in front of me. Don't they know I'm a real person who has my
Yes.
own
Oh,
feelings?
that part is so
Yeah,
good.
that was
Yes.
like the titular scene or something, like, like
Yes.
the
Yes.
thesis moment, like
Yes.
they all want to do what they think is right for her, what they honestly, not even what they think is right, just what they want for
Yeah.
her,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like she's like, hello, like, I'm my own person here, like, do I get any say in this, or are you guys just all gonna fight in front of me, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. And it's like it's so interesting in that scene too. There's a point where her dad goes, um no, not for Margaret. Margaret's nothing. And that is like
yeah,
crazy to me. And I think it's like and then like when Margaret blows up and like leaves, which is honestly so satisfying. I'm like, yeah, you guys should all feel bad about like making Margaret feel upset. Like what are
yeah,
we doing? Um but it's so true. Like I think it really just cements kind of what actually is Margaret's biggest worry in the book, and this whole entire book is like being like feeling like she has nowhere that she belongs, or like she's not like
yeah,
contributing, or like she's, as her dad said, nothing in whatever sense that
mm-hmm,
anybody's going to interpret that as. um it's just like it's like to have that, I think be like such like a catalyst
yeah,
part of that book is just like so true. And then like Margaret needs then to have like the whole moment where she like then like denounces like her liking of talking to God, and she's like, you're never there for me, so I'm not going to talk to you anymore because you don't care. And like all
right,
of that kind of comes after that, because like she's having to grapple with the thing that she's been scared of the entire book, which is like being nothing in a way.
right,
And so
right,
it's just like it's such a good scene, and I think it's so interesting in the book how it's like this conversation between her grandparents who she's never met, and then her mom and her dad. And it's like just like to have immediately these people come into her life and like expect things of her just because that's the way the world works and how things have gone is like I can see it as like a child who, especially being raised by like parents who are so like, we're not going to forge your own path for you, like you're going to figure it out on your own. I can like see exactly why that's so just like I almost said disjarring, but I think I meant to say disarming and also jarring.
jarring.
I don't anyway, but yeah, like kind of jarring as a
Yeah,
young girl. And so I don't know, that scene was so
yeah,
good. I don't know, it's so interesting because it felt like it's a book that I feel like it's like the stakes aren't really all that high, but like they feel really high to you because like you're also experiencing it through like this younger girl who like
mm-hmm,
everything is heightened. And it just like for that to be like the I think climactic moment of the book is so interesting to me,
mm-hmm,
because like really it's not that huge. It's just like a conversation where Margaret gets really upset and then leaves, but like it's like the moment of the book.
yeah,
It's just and in the movie it feels crazy because like
yeah,
everyone's yelling.
yeah.
But yeah, it's chaotic in like a really crazy way. I don't know.
I also wonder if like like this actually really made me upset. So
Mm-hmm.
she's an only child, and I think her mom's parents, they're the ones that like she's meeting for the first time. They're like, oh yeah, like we're getting older and we realize we might have made a mistake, like we want our only daughter back in our life, and like we really want to meet our granddaughter. And like
Mm-hmm.
they the grandma, I'm pretty sure it's the grandma, says something out loud when she's there, like something to the effect of like, we always wanted a bunch of grandkids, but like Margaret's all we have, and something like that. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone in Margaret's life is putting, like her family is
Mm-hmm.
all putting so much pressure on her
Mm-hmm.
because she's the only
The
one.
only, yeah.
And like you and I both grew up in families with where we have siblings, and it's kind of like well, we, at least this is how I feel, like me and all my sisters, like we all have our flaws and we also all have our strengths. And it's
Yeah.
like, I feel like, at least for me, this is how I feel. I don't know, I can't speak on how my sisters feel, but it's like, if you made a mistake, it was like, okay, like there's room to grow, there's room for improvement, and there wasn't like this immense pressure to be the right thing for everybody. You
Yeah.
know, like, because Margaret can't possibly be Christian and Jewish and non-religious for all
Yeah.
three of like the people in her life. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's it's really unfortunate for her to be the one child, the one grandchild that three very different perspectives are wanting to mold her into exactly what they think is like the right way to do things. And I just like wonder, like, if she had siblings or if she had
Yeah,
cousins,
it would
like,
be less intense.
yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like she's the only child, she's the only grandchild, so it's like I feel like everything is like even more heightened because I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
say like, oh well, if Margaret didn't end up the way they wanted, they could just defer to a different child. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, there
Yeah.
wouldn't be as much pressure on just her. The pressure would
Yeah.
be spread out through all of the kids or all of the cousins, and like,
Yeah.
I don't
That's so
know.
true.
And there would
No,
be other
that's
people in her situation that she could like relate to, but I think she feels like she's the only one because all her friends at school know what they are.
yeah.
They know if they go to the Y or the Jewish Center or whatever they said, like, you know, everyone belongs to one of the clubs, and she
Yeah.
doesn't, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's such a good point, and like also just such a hard lesson that like you do have to learn when you're younger, and I think actually a lot of people don't get to fully learn this until they're of grown age. But I think about it a lot, like when you're in your 20s you start to really consider marriage and having children and et cetera, et cetera. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I know a lot of my friends who have come to me saying like if maybe they're the only child, or maybe like they're in a family of like, well, like them and their sibling are both gay, and so it's like, or they don't want children or et cetera. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like things where it's like you kind of have to a adjust and like accept what your realities are for life and like what you wanted to do, etc. And then also like get used to the fact that you're about to be disappointing your parents, because like everyone's always like, all my parents want to be as grandparents. My parents, thank God, my parents have never in my whole entire life asked me when I'm gonna have a baby. Thank you, mom and dad. They could not care less. But like if they did and they're just not telling me, it's like both of my sisters have like expressed wanting children a lot, and so it's like they have that covered. But like I know a lot of people who like, you know, it's like they have to have that moment with their parents where like you have to be disappointed that I'm not going to give you a kid, like to be a grandparent, you know, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like a natural disappointment in life, and it's going to be actually so much more detrimental if I do go through with this just to make you happy. And
Right.
it's like learning that like disappointment is totally fine, like whether or not like it's you who's feeling disappointed or like you who's like making other people disappointed, no matter what it is. Like it's like a lot of times like that type of disappointment is like completely natural and like totally okay, and just one of those emotions that we have to experience in life. And
Yeah.
it's like it's such a hard lesson to learn, but like it's one that like Margaret's being like directly confronted with throughout this book, because like she's gonna have to make somebody upset. And not only is it something that's like it's like there's in little things where like she's worried about like disappointing her friends or like disappointing her teacher, etc. But like the idea of like disappointing your grandparents because like the thing that like is like so much of their identity, which is their religion, and like it's such a huge thing because it's not even about your life now, it's going to be about like your life in the afterlife, you know, like it's like that's how serious it is to people who believe in whatever religion. And so it's like to disappoint people on that level is such like a tall order and like a really, really hard thing to have to like grapple with when you're 10 years old. And it's like, I think it's just like it really does like when you really think about it, like that being like the main conflict of this book is like disappointing your family because you can't, or because you don't feel like you fit in their expectations of you religious wise is like huge and like really deep and really scary.
That's what I mean, like this book is so short and sweet and silly, but it's also like
the themes are crazy deep. Yeah truly and that's, I think, again, like I know we keep saying this, but another reason why it's so timeless, because it's just like it's going to like you're always going to find something I think that you relate to, or you're going to find something like deeper that you see in it. And it's like, and again, like also as you said before, like it's like if your niece picked this up, she might just like be like, oh, it's a cute story about a girl who's like growing up like me. But then like if she reads it at 20 or 25, she'll be like, oh my god, like that's like crazy.
Me thinking about my oldest niece turning
25, yeah. Crazy. That's not for a while, don't worry.
She's almost halfway there.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I remember the day she was born. And
like
now it's like, this is crazy.
I know. We had a sleepover when she was here and it was so fun.
Yeah.
She said her favorite part of New York was the sleepover at Laura's house because we got to eat candy and watch a movie.
Yeah. What movie did you guys watch?
We watched the first Harry Potter movie.
Oh, wait, that's sweet.
Yeah, she's only seen the first two and she's only read the first two books. And you know, but I have your Disney Plus. And so I was like, we could watch Harry Potter. We could watch something on Disney. Like, we could, you know. She's like, well, I think I want to watch Harry Potter because my little siblings can't watch that with me, so I don't get to watch it very much.
Oh, my gosh.
We had fun.
That's so cute. Yeah, that's so nice. I feel like, too, as the oldest in a big family, it's like you don't get a whole lot of little, like, special moments where you get just like to be treated.
Yeah that was so, kind of like, her
that
big,
was probably
like, even though her birthday's not for a couple more months, like that was her big like 10th birthday gift, was like she got to hang out with me all night and we got to buy snacks from the corner deli, you know.
That's cute. That's so cute.
Should we talk about Little Miss Nancy Wheeler?
Wielding power such a over character. These girls. She is such a character.
Also, this is just a fun fact since we were talking about Stranger Things earlier.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, obviously you might recognize the name Nancy Wheeler because that is
main character's name.
Yeah. I was getting like Byers confused with Wheeler. Anyways,
no, you're good.
So Nancy Wheeler is a character in Stranger Things. And in the movie Are You There, God It's Me, Margaret, the girl who plays the Nancy Wheeler in this story is the same girl that plays Hopper's daughter. Is it Sarah?
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Season 1.
Yeah, it's the same actress.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's
also
just like so random. Like,
I want to know if like it was at all intentional for her to be named Nancy Wheeler, because like she would have been born. No, actually, if she was a teenager in the 80s.
Well, I was thinking like, I wonder if anyone in the writer's room
so had
read this book and knew it was like relevant to the time period and was like, oh, we should just like name one of our characters that as like a
Yeah.
little nod. You
So
know what I
like
mean?
okay, here's my opinion. So cuz like the pilot was written just by the Duffer Brothers. And
Uh-huh.
like to me it would actually
They
make so
probably.
much sense if it was not at all intentional,
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
like
say they
if
probably
you
hadn't
think
read
about
it.
Stranger Things, it's so and I'm not saying this, by the way, you guys, I love Stranger Things. So like peace and love. But like it's so focused, I think, on the idea of boyhood, just in the first season. I would say in the second and third season I think we go more into the complexities of every female character, but like
Mm-hmm.
I think season one's very much boyhood based, and it would make so much sense actually if they didn't even like consider that they were naming a character
Yeah.
after the most iconic book of that time.
Yeah.
Like it's just like really silly to me if that's true, but
It's like what about that name feels so like 70s 80s? You know what I mean? Like it
yeah.
just sounds so right.
Nancy Wheeler, I know,
Yeah.
it's so true, it's so true.
Um but her character, it's so interesting. Again, it's so interesting reading this as a grown up, a grown
Yeah,
up,
a
and
grown
just
up.
seeing like how she is wielding power over this friend group, and
Oh, that's so relatable. Yeah.
they all want to do what she does because if
Mm-hmm.
she says it's cool, then it has to be cool. You can't disagree with her.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in a musical last year, I was in the teen ensemble. There was me and one other guy that were in our 20s, and the rest of them were like actually high schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so interesting being, 24 and
Mm-hmm.
watching these like 15 to 18-year-olds interact, because I could see who was wielding the power. Nobody was like mean or anything, but I could tell who was seen as like the top
Yeah.
of the ladder and who was trying to fit in and who was like going along with what someone else said. It was so interesting to watch it with my
Yeah.
own eyes, because I was like, I just know when I was that age, I would have been the girl like, I hope everyone like lets me fit in and la la la. And but seeing it at my big age now, I'm like, guys, like none of this is important.
No,
You
it's so
know?
true.
And it's just like reading this book, it's like the same thing. Like, it's like if only one of them would have like stood up and I don't really think Nancy was like mean necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but she definitely knew how to like manipulate to get her way or to make her idea always seem the best, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean. And she
I
did like
was.
spread lies about other people, so that was
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
It's just like so interesting because they're all three, the other three I feel like are scared.
Yeah.
Like if only one of them says, "No, I don't like that group name," then if
Yeah.
Nancy said, "Well, it's the best," then the other two are going to be like, "Yeah, like come on, it's the best." Even if they all three didn't like it. You know, it's
Yeah.
just it's
Yeah. I
so
was I was I was really wondering throughout this book what it takes to be like this is gonna sound kind of stupidly like way too deep, but like what makes a leader in a way. Like I'm like,
yeah.
why is it that Nancy was able to have that authority over the other girls
Yeah.
compared to other people? Is it just because when you're younger you're kind of looking for a guiding light,
Yeah.
and it's like she's just the loudest voice in the room, and so it's just like might as well. I think that's also another thing that like the whole point of like Margaret's conversations with God are like she's looking for guidance, or like just like somebody there who is gonna listen to her. And it's like maybe to her like Nancy is like the god of
Yeah.
the preteens.
No, that's
And
so true.
And so it's like interesting to me that like Nancy as a figure was able to kind of like have her own little posse, and I'm like, what does it take for her to
Yeah.
have been anointed so to be so powerful? Because like honestly I feel like it's just like she must have just been one of the first people, and like just having the confidence to do it, and like
Yeah.
again just being the loudest in the room.
Yeah. Well, it
It's just
makes sense.
interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense for it makes sense for Margaret to kind of follow her lead because Margaret's brand new to the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy comes over and is like, "Hey, come be my friend." And so
Mm-hmm.
Margaret's like, "Okay, this is my
Sure,
way
got a
in."
friend. Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's yeah, I'd be curious to learn about the other two because you assume they've been going to school together for a few years now. Like
Yeah.
what made them like
Yeah.
follow her?
Well, and I was thinking it too in terms of like Laura Denker. Like it's like Laura Denker is such an interesting character to me
Mhm.
because genuinely she is somebody who um she was the first to like develop in her class, and that's like unfortunately I feel like the first girl to develop in her class is always going to get picked on for literally no reason.
Yeah.
um but it's crazy in this book because it's just like Nancy wants what Laura has. Like she's like
Yes.
actively trying to get it, and she's telling everybody in her friend group that they need to be doing these bust exercises in order to
Which is so
develop
funny.
quicker. And I know it's hilarious. But like genuinely it's like it's so interesting to me because it's like the fact like it's like you have to strike at the exact right time. It's like so weird how precise when you're younger everything has to go in order for you to like fit in correctly. And
Yeah.
it's just like the fact that like Laura Denker could never have been Nancy Wheeler, even though Nancy Wheeler wants what Laura Denker has because Laura Denker was the first to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, which is crazy. Like she was like, you can't be so much of an outcast that you're completely um like setting your own curve or whatever.
Yeah.
Um but like you also can't be too late to the party. So it's like the fact that Nancy was able to step up after Laura Denker and like be
Mhm.
like, and this is how it's gonna go, and this is how.
Yeah.
And of course the only other person who I'm jealous of we are going to ostracize and make seem like she's the problem.
Right.
It's just like so like the mind games. Like teenage girls or preteen girls, I think, are actually some of the most smart people we have on the planet. Because like how are you out here? like that's so like the mind games are
Mhm.
crazy.
And I think it's like also, Nancy is jealous of Laura
Yeah.
Denker and
Yeah.
she can't handle like if all the boys actually liked her or if all the girls really want to be friends with her, like that would be Nancy's power would go away. So like
Mhm.
she's so jealous to the point where she has to like make up
Yeah.
these lies about her and say that the teacher's always looking at her and that she's doing things with the boys to make her image, be bad. So then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, actually, that body is like, that's actually not what you want. Even though when
Yeah.
I get it, it's going to be what everyone wants, but it's just
No, it's
like,
not. Yeah.
and it's so sad for her because, for Laura, because it's like, she literally has no control over this. You know what I mean?
No, my
And
poor
so
girl.
it's not even like she's just like having a quirky interest or she like plays mermaids at recess and the other kids think, oh, we're too old for that. It's like she just grew up. Like you can't
Yeah.
stop that. And so that it's just like, and I
It's
just
so sad.
know she feels so isolated in her
Mhm.
classes and it just makes me so sad for her.
I know. I think it's also so true of the fact that like Nancy, like you just said, Nancy can't have anybody too powerful who's going to overshadow her be in her I would just say like she doesn't want to be around anybody who can ever overshadow her. And so like then it like really puts in perspective kind of this friend group that she has. And it's like those poor girls, they all think that they're in on this like secret club
Mm-hmm.
and like this best friendship. But like the whole entire time they know that Nancy's always going to have to be at the top, and
Yeah, it
like
sort of sounds similar. Just
I,
yeah.
it's like it truly is I think one of the most hard realizations you have to come to as a young girl is like realizing that like you can have best friends who do not view you as your equal, and it's like it's all to do with them. It has nothing to do with you. It's like, and like you can want to be there for them, but it's like, and I mean Nancy eventually learns her lesson at the end of this book.
Yeah.
In a small way because her lies catch up to her, but like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like the fact that you, as a young girl, kind of, it's almost like realizing like Santa Claus isn't real, or like your parents aren't as perfect and don't know everything. Like it's just like you're realizing that like your best friend isn't at all what you have like thought her to be, because
Right.
she doesn't view you as great as herself. Like it's just, I don't know if I'm wording this correctly, but like it just feels like just like so like heartbreaking when you're like when you really zoom out, because like you can see it as a grown person, and you can connect to it and relate to it, but it's like Margaret at the time just wants to be loved and accepted, and she thinks she's getting that, but she's not. She's really actually getting it from, and this is the real tea, is like, by the way, if you guys are young out there and you're going through this, the way to make friends when you're in this situation is just becoming best friends with the people in this situation with you who are not the leader. This is how me and Laura became friends. And this is how me and one of my other best friends are best friends. Because it's like the people who do love and respect you are the people who are not at the top of that pyramid. Like it's like, if there's 3 of you and one person deems them to be in charge, you're going to want to go to the person who's also at the bottom of that pyramid with you. Yeah. Because you guys both love and respect each other, and you also have this great thing that's going to connect to you to each other, of like being like, we're kind of manipulated in that entire friendship. And so it's like, it's so true. Like I love that moment, like specifically when Margaret's going to buy a bra, and she feels like she's so behind everybody else in that friend group, and she runs into one of the other girls in that friend group also buying bras, and Margaret does that thing where like she's happy that that girl doesn't have to see that she's also buying a bra, because she doesn't want her to know that she's also in the same place as her. But like they both are the same place, you know what I mean? And so it's like at that point you're realizing that like Margaret she's kind of too under Nancy's power or like mindset at that point. And then it's like, then later on though, then we get to see her going to the store to buy pads with the other girl who doesn't have her period in the friend group, and that's such a bonding moment where like they're both like able to be like just girls together and not having to worry about so much what the other one thinks, because they're both in the same exact place. And then not only that, but then she gets her period and she immediately feels bad because she's like, oh, I wanted my other friend to get it before me, like that's what I said. And and like to have that moment, like it's like that's the real friendship of the book. And it's like just like so like partially healing when we get to that point.
And when they are checking out and they're both like scared because it's a boy on the counter, and then like he just like rings it up and like doesn't care. Margaret said like she was always saying like, and that was it. Or that was all there was to it.
It's actually pretty simple.
It's so funny when true. She said she like goes home and like you know, tries it out and like puts it in her underwear, and she like lays down and she's like, maybe I'll just like wear it all night just to see. And then she's like, well, but if there was a fire, then like we'd have to go outside and everyone would know. I'm like, that is so like so real 11-year-old girl like thinking like, what if the worst possible situation happened and everyone would know I was like practicing using my pad? Like, what?
That's so funny. One thing I really actually liked about this book, and I thought was so true, #true, is the reliance that all of those girls had on each other as far as like figuring out, like they thought they were getting like these kernels of knowledge from Nancy or from each other about what it meant to grow up, when like really the person they're getting this knowledge from is like one step ahead of them, whereas like it's like to be like thinking that like your friends are like the Bible, this Bible worth of knowledge full of like, and this is what a period feels like, and this is how you wear your pad, and this is how you like what bra you should wear, and you shouldn't wear socks to school, or etc. And it's like, meanwhile, like her mom is like the real, like you should be going to your mom because like she knows everything. And it's like, but like the fact that like for some reason it's just like that feels like such a, like an like you don't even want to touch that, like that's like so real. Like just remember when I was younger, getting all of my information from like my best friends at the time. Like my best friends like taught me how to shave. Like they like I got my period at my best friend's house, and like she gave me Midol. I did not need Midol for my first day of my period, but like things like that, where I'm just like, it was so true. Like it was like I viewed what my best friends had to say about everything as like such gospel.
Yeah.
And like they had been only experiencing these things maybe at most a year before me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like they also, and like who did they turn to though? It was probably their mom. And so it's like
Yeah.
truly like these little things where it's like your mom's right there. Or like even my sisters. I should have just been talking to my sisters.
Yeah.
I remember my little
back
sister.
and I'm like, why didn't I just ask my sister?
I know. I like my little sister Alyssa came to me when she started going through puberty for the first time, asked me a bunch of things, and I was like, whoa. I was like, bro. I was like fully, by the way, like 17, 16. Like I definitely like knew the answer that she was asking me, but I was like, why are you asking me? But like that was like that was good. She should have come to me.
Yeah.
Like I was a safe space.
Can I tell the world, the internet, my story,
Period story?
of when I started my period and how I told
Laura,
my
this is
mom.
my favorite story ever. I think
Okay,
about it
so
all
you
the time. I
already
thought
know
about it listening to. I thought about it when I was reading this book. It's so funny.
I was like, so I don't even know. Okay, so I used to do this thing with my mom where like I would sometimes write notes about stuff like how I felt or something, and in the note I would write like, please like don't talk to me about this, like please just read it and just like we'll just both know that we read it, you know what I mean? So I would write notes to her. This wasn't like a new occurrence, but I started my period and I knew I needed to tell her because I needed to know what next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wrote this note. I folded this piece of paper like literally this big, like
Teensy
the
tiny.
tiniest you could possibly fold the piece of paper, and then like I like cracked open my parents' bedroom door and just like threw it in their room. And I think there was some part of me that was like, well, if it's so small and she doesn't find it, then like at least I tried to tell her. It's out of my hands now. But of course she was in there, so she saw me throw it. So she like, I'm like in my room, like under the covers, you know, just like Margaret in that one scene.
Yes.
And my mom comes in and she's like, so what is this, the world's tiniest note? It's like, I don't know. She just was like, she's like, you don't have to feel embarrassed, like, you know, me and all your sisters, like, blah, blah. But it was just like, why, like, something about like folding it up so small, it's like, okay, it's gonna take her longer to unfold it, it's gonna delay like
Literally
by 5 seconds, like
literally.
I don't know, like I just felt so like nervous to tell her, and out of nervousness I was just like, let me fold this paper up 20 times.
It's so funny to
like
me.
just like right into her bedroom.
It's so good. No, that's so true. I don't know why it was so scary. I feel like every step of like growing up was so scary for me.
Yeah.
Like asking my mom for a bra for the first time was crazy. I remember I had to let's get into it. When I was in musical theater, I had to wear white pants for one of my productions, and like they specifically asked for nude / thongy underwear. And so I had to buy a thong for the first time with my mom, and she made a comment at the checkout desk where she was like, I didn't know you wore thongs. And I was like, also my best friend's brother was in line behind me. That was the worst day of my life, Loki. Now that I think about it.
We can cut it, but who?
It was Carly's brother.
Okay,
Carly's
that's what I was
brother
thinking.
Andrew. I was like, oh my god.
And he's probably like 12.
Yeah, he was young. He was like buying a gift, I think, for his girlfriend at the time, which like love. But we were at like Victoria's Secret, and I was like, what are you doing here?
Oh my gosh.
It was like, it was crazy. Anyway, but like little things like that. And I remember being so scared to tell my mom about my period, and like I like worked myself up. I was like, in our bathroom outside our living room, and I was like just looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. And I like come out and I go, hey mom. She goes, yeah. Meanwhile she's on her computer, doesn't even look up.
It's regular Tuesday for her.
Literally, I was like, I got my period, and she was like, okay, we have supplies in the bathroom. Like, okay. I was like so nervous for nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just so funny. And I mean, like, God bless to my older sister who forged the path for me, for real. Like, it's like, I probably was so chill because like she had gotten her period. My sister and I are very close in age, so she got her period right before me. And so like that was like, I was like, okay, so that wall's already been knocked down. Like, we're fine. We're fine. But like, yeah, just little things like that where I'm just like, my mom was like never gonna judge me for it. But like in my head I was like, this is huge.
I remember when I was little, or like before, you know, I was regular and I didn't know how to like keep track and stuff. One time we went to church, and then right after church I had to go to this dance performance that I had at my dance studio. It was like part of our Nutcracker thing that we did, and I was wearing like pink tights and a white costume. Yikes. And like my period had started while we were at church, but I didn't have anything with me because that's just like not something I thought about. And I was like, well, I didn't want to tell my mom because I thought she would be mad that I like hadn't prepared on my own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was afraid she was gonna be like, why didn't you like bring stuff, you know? In hindsight, it's like she probably wouldn't have been mad at me. She would have just given me what I needed, and it would have been fine. But I was too scared. And then, so they take me to the dance studio. I'm there for, 6 hours, however long. And of course, I'm one of the youngest ones there. And there's all these high school girls. And I just knew, I was like, I know that someone here probably has something I can use. But I was like 12 or 13 or however old. And these girls were like 16, 17, 18. And I was just like too scared to ask anybody for anything. So all day I just kept going to the bathroom and just like stuffing toilet paper in my tights.
Man. That's
it's just
so
like,
real.
It's just this book. It's just so like every girl, most girls go through that feeling of like being too scared to talk about it, and then you grow up and you're like, why didn't I just
I made the situation 10 times worse. Yes, that's so true. No, it's like, were you ever somebody who also like you really wanted your period, or were you somebody who like didn't have an opinion?
I was like,
so I was 13 when I got my period, which I think is pretty late. But I just remember all my friends got it before me. And so like a lot like Margaret, I felt like I was like behind the curve. Like I felt like I like didn't know I didn't know something that was essential to being a girl. And so like I wanted it really badly, and I was really excited when I got it. But like, yeah, like I think it's like I was so intrigued by like Nancy Wheeler's whole arc specifically with her period, and how like she wanted it so badly because she didn't want to be left behind, that she went ahead and lied about it. And then like when she actually got it, she like she was freaked
crying,
out. Yeah, she was like, no. And
which
like
in
that's
the movie, that's such a good scene.
I know, it's so good. Oh my god, it's like such a good reveal too, when like Margaret's like, does she always act like this? And her mom's like, well, it's her first period, honey. Like, yeah, like she doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, it's like that's such a crazy scene. It's just so interesting to be like to want something for so long that like you think is going to make you feel a certain way, and then like when it happens, you just shut down. You're like, I actually wasn't prepared for this, or like I don't know what to do right now in this moment, and I just want my mom. It's like the idea that like girlhood, so many people believe like you like cross this like this line when you get your period into like being, this is such a weird thing to say, but like you're now a woman, you know what I mean, when you like get your period. And it's like the first thing we all do is like tell our mom, and be like, we want our mom. It's like that is like this is why it's like so important, I believe, to understand like growing up as a girl if you're just like living on this earth, because it's like that experience is so crazy, and it's something that like so many people jokingly will be like, oh, and now you're a woman, like now you're a grown up, and it's like these poor girls are like so scared, and like you're always gonna be, I think like from the ages of 11 to 14, or the trenches, because like truly it's like you're like you're walking that line so tightly of like growing up and wanting to stay a kid for forever, and like you want to, like, you love your mom so much and you want nothing to do with her, and it's like the most like contradicting,
Yeah.
difficult time where you're like basically coming into yourself as a person. And it's like the idea that like this scene, I think this scene specifically does such a good job of like that like crossing that line and then realizing you're not ready for it. It's just like that's like the epitome, I believe, of like the ages like 11 to 14.
Yeah. And also that scene is so like important because it's the first time I think Margaret really realizes like
Yeah.
like just the realization of like, oh my gosh, like she lied to me about something that's so important. And
Yeah.
like I thought we all like made a pact that we would be honest about that kind of stuff. And like Margaret then having to decide like, you know, like what do I do about this? And like do I view
Yeah.
Nancy differently now or
Yeah.
not? And Margaret is like, it's okay, like I won't tell the other girls. Like I think Margaret's a really sweet friend, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because I think she sees how scared Nancy is and she's like, she doesn't want to add any more stress, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just interesting because, and I think, I don't know if that's really the first moment, but then it's like there's more moments after that where she starts to realize, like when she's talking to Moose and she's like, well, I can't believe you would do that with blah blah, and he's like, who told you that? Like
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
I didn't do that.
And she starts
Yeah.
to realize like little by little, like these things that Nancy said, like not everything has been truthful, you know?
Yeah, it's so true. I think it's like such a big moment for Margaret because in a way she realizes what's important to each of them in the friendship. Like I think for Margaret and for the other girls, like they want companionship, they want honesty, they want like giving each other like all like they're just sharing secrets, you know, like that all encompassing feeling of being really close with somebody when you're young. And like for Nancy, it's all about I think like feeling either important or like like I think like it's like Nancy's like need to fit in is like because you think like the person who wants to fit in the most in this book is Margaret, and then like you see Nancy and the like the lengths that Nancy goes through to like also be viewed as like on the same path as everybody else. And it's just like for Margaret, I think she understands that like what she wanted out of Nancy was a friendship, and what Nancy wanted out of Margaret more so was probably somebody who was going to like respect her and like her. And it's like, and like I think Margaret in a way like she has to confront that throughout like the later half of this book. And then I think it really breaks with Moose. But there's also this moment too where like she's kind of being a little bratty. I can't remember what exactly the moment is, but I remember she says something like, she's like, I sound like Nancy. And I was like, it's so interesting that like she comes to that conclusion on her own. And it's like, I think it's like we all kind of had somebody in our lives who maybe wasn't incredibly good for us, and there's a moment where we realize we're becoming like them. And we're like, well, I don't want to do that actually. Like I don't want to be like that. And I think that's just like a really important lesson that like Margaret learns throughout that later half.
Yeah, and I think Margaret is, you see that she's very like emotionally intelligent. Like when she is talking to Laura Danker at the library and she's like, I can't believe you would do this and this with the boys, and she's like, what are you talking about? Like I've never done that. Like she like, don't you understand how hard it is to be like the tallest kid in class and like blah 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 blah. And then Margaret like goes home and like talks to God and is like, God, like I'm such a bad person, like I can't believe that I really hurt her feelings, like I can't believe that I did that. And then also like when the grandparents come, there's a part where Margaret says, like, I think this is even harder on my dad than it is on me.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my God, I
just
love that
there's
line.
just all these moments of Margaret, like, recognizing, like, not just her emotions, but other
Other
emotions. Like,
people's, yeah.
in the case with Laura, she's like, oh, I hurt that girl's feelings. Like, I did that. I hurt
Yeah.
her. And with her dad, she's like, oh, this situation is bad for me, but I think it's even worse for him. It's just
Yeah.
like, I think, like, this is true in so many cases. Like, as you get older and your prefrontal cortex develops,
Yeah.
I think people forget that, like, kids, they might not be fully rational or fully this or fully that, but, like, they are thinking and feeling just as
Yeah.
truly and deeply as everybody else.
Yeah,
And,
that's so
like,
true.
I just, like, I just really liked reading those moments where she was, like, having
Yeah,
these
these
emotional
revelations.
realizations. Yeah. It's just so good.
I know. Have you ever read Judy Blume before, by the way?
I was thinking, I was trying to think if I had, and I meant to, like, look up, like, a list of her books to see if I had. Because, like, I know she's written, like, so many iconic books. Like, she's one of the most, I feel like, famous, like, kids authors ever.
Yeah. I think in the 4th grade, I read Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing because it was required from my class. I don't remember anything from it, though. I remember people love that. People love that book, though. Like, they loved it then. And I know that a lot of people, like, will cite it as, like, one of, like, their favorite books they read in, like, middle grade.
Maybe I'll read it this coming year.
Yeah, and again, I have no idea what it's about. Can't remember a thing. But I think I liked it. But I've always wanted to try her. I think I get her throughout my childhood and like teenage years. I got her and Beverly Cleary mixed up a lot, and I loved Beverly Cleary. Like, I was reading those books.
Yeah, I know,
like,
I've read several of Beverly Cleary's.
Yeah, but like Judy Blume, I think it's because maybe Judy Blume has a bit of a little bit of a reputation for maybe like trying to write about deeper themes and topics. Like, I know a lot of Judy Blume books are unfortunately like banned or trying to be banned in a lot of libraries. Like,
that makes
she wrote
me
a
want to
book.
read them more.
I know. She wrote a book called Forever, which is like more so geared towards teenagers, but it like it talks about like having sex for the first time. Like, that's what the whole basis of that is.
Yeah.
And it's like really, I think it like really turns a lot of parents off.
Interesting.
Of, like having their children pick up that book. And so in a lot of libraries, not in a lot of libraries, but in some libraries, it's not available.
Yeah, I remember Beverly Cleary. I loved her The Mouse and the Motorcycle.
Love The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Oh my God, you just pulled that out of my brain. I love that book.
And, my dad read those as a kid and he loved them, so he like told me and Kelly about them.
Loved that book. Yeah, that's so true. I liked, because Beverly Cleary, I believe she did Ramona and Beezus, and like the Ramona books were like huge. Like, if you weren't reading Ramona, girl.
Wait, I don't think I've ever read one of the Ramona books.
Really?
Yeah.
It felt like such like a for the girls, like a coming of age moment.
Oh, I definitely remember that. I saw the movie.
Yeah, movie great. Selena Gomez, love. Ramona movie walked low key. So Are You There, God? Margaret
Yes.
could sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to talk about the movie for just a little bit more.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Watching this movie, like, I was forever changed after I watched this movie. Like, it felt the same to me as how I felt when I watched Little Women, the 2019 one. Like, I was like, oh, like this is cinema, this is art, this is girlhood, this is womanhood. And I think there's like so many coming of age movies that are around like more like the 15 to 17-year-old range. And like this one being about like an 11-year-old.
Yeah, so refreshing.
But it not being like a kids movie. Like, it's totally appropriate for kids to watch, but it's not like it's not like childish, if that makes sense. Like it's taken
Yeah.
very seriously. It's
Yes.
very fun, but it's
Yes.
taken very seriously. Like I'm like, oh, this is what I've been missing, because I love middle grade stories, and like this adaptation I just think was so good. Especially, I already thought the movie was so good, and then reading the book, I was like, oh, this is like they did this. Like
Yeah.
like reading the book, I was like, this is so similar to the movie. I was so pleased with
Yes.
seeing how well the two like mirror each other.
Yes, I agree. I think it's like that thing that you said about taking girlhood seriously is so true. And it's like it's so needed cuz I think, and I mean, I know I made this point earlier, but like there's such, in my opinion, a bit of a lack of girlhood classics compared to like boyhood classics. And like that is definitely because like unfortunately, even though it's like teenage girls kind of like really set the culture, I think men and like what men deem as important become like really what define and what truly is like what becomes ingrained in our culture as significant. And so I'm thinking like there's like, I think like a movie that a lot of men love is like Stand By Me, because I don't know if you've ever seen Stand By Me, but it's
I
like,
watched it when I was little, and I was so scared. I was so
Really?
scared. All I remember is like leeches and then fainting.
oh
I was like 6 when I watched this. Like I was
yeah,
terrified.
no, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. But like it's about these young boys, but like the situations that they're thrown in are like it gets deep kind of quickly.
Yeah.
And then like at the end it's like, well, not spoil, but like at the end it's kind of like, okay, and this is where we all went. And it's like a really like, it's a great movie. I think it's great, but it's like it's one of those movies that like takes boyhood so seriously. But like if you think about it, the stakes are fairly high. Margaret's not stumbling upon a dead body in this,
Right.
but she's just doing what every single girl has to do.
Right.
And it's like taken, I think, just as seriously.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just saying, like I said before, I think girlhood is so like such an interesting topic to explore, because it literally is, to me, it's just as serious as Stand By Me. Like getting your period for the first time is just as serious to me as stumbling upon a dead body. Like, it feels, it's
very
just as
formative.
gruesome. Yeah, literally, it's crazy. So I don't know, it's just like I think it's so nice and refreshing to see a book like this, and then more so too like a movie like this taking something as I guess like stressful, formative, any other adjective you want to add there,
Yeah.
and taking it like handling it with so much care, and like understanding the exact emotion that you felt at the time, and then like putting that emotion into the movie so that way you feel it while you're watching it, you know what I mean? It's really good. It's really good. And like if you took this book and tried to make it into a movie that was like that played for laughs mostly, it would not have the same effect. Like it's so earnest and it's so sincere, and it's so it wants to make you feel like you just went on a journey with somebody,
Yeah.
but like it was your journey also.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think it's like so good that we had. Also, the girl who directed this movie also directed Edge of 17, which is another movie that takes growing up so seriously.
No wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Yeah. Like it's like, come on, like we have to be taking girlhood seriously,
Yeah.
you guys.
That
Because it's
crazy.
so deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so crazy
love-
to know that.
I love that she did one that was like on the precipice of like young adulthood and adulthood, and then like one on the precipice of preteen to teen.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like they're both trying to cross that line, and
Yeah.
it's so scary, and I think it handles it so well. So yeah.
I love that. So if you can't tell, we highly recommend this book. Again, you can
Yeah.
read it in a day.
Yeah.
It's so fun. It's so sweet. It's so endearing, and it's so relatable. If you're a
Yeah.
girl, if you're a guy, I don't know, you might relate to Moose or something.
I think all guys should read it if
Yeah,
you want
actually
to
you
know
should, to get
anything
educated and
anything about being a girl.
understand what it was like for us when we were
Yeah,
11.
for sure.
Yeah. So, should we wrap up our first pod of the new year?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
That's so crazy.
Well, thank you all for following us into the next year or finding us for the first time. Our music and illustrations are created by the wonderful Sage Timothy.
If you don't know our schedule yet, we have a new one. So we host our book club episodes on the first Friday of each month. So for next month, we will be reading The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. That episode will be out on the first Friday of February. So be sure to pick up a copy and read it by then if you want to discuss it with us.
Before we get to the last page, though, we'll see you in 2 weeks for a catch-up episode where it's just us besties talking. And you can listen to us on your podcast platform of choice, or if you'd rather watch your podcast, you can find us on YouTube at Read the Last Page. And you can also email us at readthelastpagebookclub@gmail.com. For any thoughts that you have. But for now, we want to say bye from B
And Dan,
bye.